Okay, we're starting off laying down, so we can let that whole back body relax down onto the floor. Maybe a little bend in your knees will help to release any tension in your low back that you might have from sitting a lot today or standing a lot. Allow yourself to just breathe here. Close your eyes, breathe through your nose. Find that each breath you can make a little longer, a little bigger, and release a little more tension each time, like you could melt your joints and all your bones, any tension in your jaw. With every exhale, let go a little more. And cultivate a nice breath that makes kind of a roar in your ears, a nice roaring sound. Feel it expand any places you might feel stuck in your chest or your belly. We tend to hold a lot of tension in the front of the chest right here, okay? Our ribs get constricted during the day when we're stressed or focused. Our breath gets short and shallow sometimes, and we get locked into this muscle pattern of tension in the rib cage. So breathing deeply, slowly, intentionally inflating and relaxing the rib cage open and outward can give you so much relief from that buildup. Feel free to ground your shoulder blades a little extra when you inhale to give yourself that extra space in the chest. And remember the strong belly button pulling inward on the exhale. All the belly muscles wrapping inward to squeeze as much air out as possible. Notice the effect that this short time of breathing may have had on your thoughts. Any thoughts and emotions, notice the character. And then as you're ready here, flip your hands over so your palms are on the floor. Bring your feet in close to your hips. And we'll start rolling the spine up and down. So with your inhale, think of just picking your tailbone up and pointing it at the ceiling first. And then very slowly, you try to pick one vertebra up at a time. And it takes a lot longer than it normally would, but that's okay. And we're intentionally lengthening the spine as we lift the tailbone highest. As many ribs as we can peel up, have peeled up, and we're exhaling to roll all the vertebrae down one at a time. Long spine on the way down. So let's take a few breaths like that. Looking for some nice length. Some nice rolling movement, okay? Keeping a lot of space underneath the back of your neck is important here. So make sure your nose points up and your chin is moving away from your chest. As you move, remember to keep a little space between your knees, a little tennis ball of space in your bridge posture. And your core will engage a little more readily if you're holding that imaginary tennis ball. So always worth it for a little more core engagement. Next time you come up, hold right there. Make sure you point your nose up. The back of your head presses gently into the floor even. Maybe bend your elbows and press them down. Kind of more firmly scoot your shoulder blades underneath your heart here. And hopefully you feel some nice opening on the front of your shoulders and your hips. And keep breathing here, just moving your knees slightly kicked together, maybe pressing your hips a little higher. And if you like, you can join your hands underneath your back and maybe walk your feet in a little closer. Okay, just depends on how it feels for you. Push the floor down with your hands and your feet. Maybe one more big breath in here into the front of your body. And release your hands. If you join them, let's roll the spine down very slowly. Okay, same way you came up. Okay, when you land, take your hips in the little windshield wiper movement. So dropping knees side to side. Let the low back get a nice twist out. And then let's deepen this little twist. Take your arms out to the side. You can maybe bend your elbows into goalposts and flatten your shoulder blades into the floor. You could pick your feet up here and put your knees together and hover the knees side to side. So we're just deepening that twist. You can think of center to inhale, exhale to hover the legs, look away. Okay, keep the knees moving through center on the inhale. Drop them on the exhale. Maybe close your eyes here and just feel the length of your spine getting massaged. If you want a little more here, you can extend your knees a little more if you have the space. Okay. You can straighten the legs out and think of dropping the feet over toward where your hands are. Okay, next time your legs are up in the air, let's pause there. Extend them, extend your knees, and let's cross right leg over left. And we'll bend at the knee. And if you like, you can also cross at the shin as well. Okay, it's up to you though. And then let's drop the knees first over to the right. Sorry, first over to the left. Drop the knees to the left. So maybe picking up your hips, you might scoot your hips a little over to the right so that you can allow that twist to really happen more effectively. And make sure your spine is long on all sides. Then we'll look over to the right. And we'll just breathe here, that's all. Okay. We want to ground that right shoulder blade while we're here. And that might allow us to lift the side body away from the floor here. So imagine you're trying to do a back bend. In this twist, you're trying to lift your heart as you press the shoulder blades down. Okay, let any tension on the outside of the right hip, the glute, okay, let that all release. As you're ready, rock the legs through center and let's drop them to the right now. So let's see what it feels like on the other side. We still have the right leg crossed over the left. We're not changing the crossing, but maybe move your hips a little bit to the left and drop your knees to the right so that the twist is more twisty. Lengthen your spine and settle in, looking to the left. Big breaths into your big spread open chest. Okay, and if you really ground the shoulder blades, you can kind of lift the heart and turn it into a little back bend feeling almost in your chest. Breathe. Maybe one more nice breath here, okay? Okay, bring the legs back in. Unwind them here. Untangle everything. Stick them back up in the air. And maybe some ankle circles would be nice after having our ankles frozen in that position. And then we'll just switch the crossing. So let's do left over right. Cross at the knee, single cross. Maybe double cross at the shins. And we'll first let the legs drop to the right. Maybe scooching hips to the left. Okay, once you've settled yourself in, lengthen your spine and look away from your knees. We're just going to breathe here. We're going to let the twist do its magic. Long spine inhales. Big chest exhales. Belly button to spine. On the exhale. Okay, let's swing the legs through center. Keep left crossed over right, okay? Drop the legs to the left. Maybe move your hips a little bit to the right. Okay, just make sure that the hips line up with the shoulders and you get that long spine for your twist. You may notice that one in particular of this little series of twists that we've been doing might be more confusing or tense. Maybe they all are, who knows? Just notice those little asymmetries. It's good information to have. One more breath here. Go ahead and untangle yourself here. From here, tuck your hands behind your knees and let's rock it up. Okay, once you're up, have a seat. Any comfortable seat is wonderful, but if you like, we can try out a half lotus, okay? So let's try maybe the right foot on top first. So you can just tuck your left foot in somewhere close to your hips, and then just pick up your right foot, bring it towards your left hip crease, and then think of looking at the bottom of your right foot, like you're trying to look at something on the bottom of your foot, and then you can just let the right leg nestle on top of the left foot. If that's not comfortable, just back it up to a regular cross leg, okay? So half lotus. And we'll twist a little bit up in this seated position. So inhale here, all arms up. Exhale here, let's twist over to the right. Tap your fingers in front of and back of you. Let's do it again. Inhale back to center. Exhale again. Try to twist a little further without pulling on anything. So maybe keep your hands hovering. One more time. Inhale back to center. This one will be even deeper. Exhale, twist. Try not to touch anything. And then drop your fingers on the floor. You can use the left hand on the right knee to deepen the twist now. And let's take a few breaths here. Long spine, inhale. Belly button to spine on your exhale. Right, bring this back up and into center. And switch sides. Right foot back down on the floor. We can grab the left foot and bring it up in toward that right hip crease. And think of trying to look at the bottom of your left foot. And then maybe you can just sit that left leg on the right foot for now. So a half lotus, okay? It's kind of working toward a full lotus, or maybe not. This is a nice place to be in its own. Let's twist in the other direction. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, twist to the left. Try not to touch down so that you don't pull. Try to find your intrinsic twist. Just what your body can do. Inhale to center. Again, exhale, twist. Look over your left shoulder. One more time. Back to center. Inhale. Exhale and twist. Now let's hold this one. You can use your hands now. So support your left fingers behind you, right hand to left knee, and maybe deepen the twist. Big breath here into the ribs, the shoulders, chest. And as you're ready, bring that back into center. From here, cross your ankles. So just cross your legs just like a normal cross-leg position. And you can roll over to hands and knees. Let's take some cat-cows and combine it with a wrist stretch. Flip your hands over so your fingers point at your knees. And you're looking at your palms. You can do one hand if that's enough, okay? You can do two. So one or two, whatever makes sense for you. Put a little bend in your elbows. Then we'll do some cat-cows. So belly button is lifting. Inhale, heart pulls forward with your strength of your arms. And exhale, push the floor away. Let your head hang. Round your spine. Let's take a few more cat-cows like that. Heart pulls forward. Inhale. Push the floor away. Exhale. Keep it going. Okay, maybe little side to side movements. Get into your ribs on the sides. Feel free to go extra slow in places that it feels a little bit stickier. Maybe one more up and down. And then bring your hands back to normal. Flip them over. Whew, that was a good wrist stretch. Let's get the right knee up and out, okay? We can start to circle it out here. Let's keep the hips level at first. Just point the right knee in all the directions it can go without lifting the right hip. Just kind of see what's possible within this boundary. And rewind it. Keep the hip level. Okay, now pick up the right hip and see how many places you can point the knee as you move the right hip around in space. Kind of really ridiculous circles. Okay, now rewind these really ridiculous circles. And next time the right knee comes forward by your right elbow, plant the right foot outside your right hand. And let's take the right foot to the right side of the mat and take the left knee all the way over to the left side of the mat. So there's a lot of space between your two knees. And let's start to circle the hips out in all the places they can go. Big silly circles. Okay, a lot of movement in your hips. Let's rewind that. All right, I like these big silly movements. Okay, bring your hands back underneath your shoulders. And we're coming back in to more settle into this lunge. So I want you to make it feel just right. Angle your right foot just like you want it. Angle your right knee. Walk your left knee back or bring it in. Make everything feel just right. And then I just want you to sink in. Okay. Please remember to give the floor a little bit of resistance with your legs. So 5 or 10% is quite enough. Just push down into the floor just a little bit with your legs. And that's going to give you a lot more freedom to relax into your hips and kind of melt. Maybe you come down to your elbows. Maybe you have a block or your fingertips are fine. But try to let your upper body melt here. Let your head hang. Let your neck remain long, so you're always intentionally lengthening all sides of your neck. Continue to just push just enough against the floor that you feel a sense of release in your hips. All right. If you came down on your elbows, come back up on your hands. And I'd like to pull this right hip back now. So your hands will come back underneath your shoulders and you'll pull your right hip back here. Okay. So getting more into that right outer hip and IT band as well as the hamstring, big time. So you can make this as really as gentle or intense as you want. And I want you to just use your instincts. But feel free to put a really big bend in the right knee, especially at first, and put a good kick down in the right heel. Almost a strong kick down will get you a really nice release in your calf. It feels really good. And then keep pulling back on the right hip as you attempt to lengthen your spine, which will be challenging, so feel free to use fingertips here. Just breathing. Think about pulling your pinky toe back towards your nose. And pulling that right hip back. You're always welcome to walk the left knee back a little bit if you want to play around with more of like a split thing. Okay, so it can be a split thing or not. It doesn't have to be. Maybe one more breath here. And then as you're ready, we'll walk that left knee back forward if you brought it back, okay? And put the right foot on the floor. Let's transition it to a pigeon, okay? So you'll need to get the right arm up out of the way to shimmy the right foot to the left and drop the right knee. And then we can sink down into a pigeon. So from here, I do want you to take a moment to get your lower body just right before you come down. So take your hands out in front and support your upper body just enough while you look at your hips. If you notice that they're floating off the floor, that's okay. Okay, most everyone's are floating off the floor. That's perfectly fine. But make sure they're level, please. So do your best to internally rotate the left hip. Try tucking the left toes behind you to keep that nice internal rotation. And feel free to adjust the right foot, bring it closer to you to make this easier. Move it further away from you to make this more opening in that right outer hip, okay? But I wouldn't take it past your knee. And then once everything is all squared away, remember, resist the floor, okay? Make sure your legs are pushing down into the floor. And then you can start to walk your hands out. And let your head melt downward. Let your heart kind of melt open toward the floor. And we'll just breathe here for a little while. Give the floor just enough resistance with your legs that you can feel your hips releasing, especially that right outer hip. Find that perfect balance between effort and ease here. Mostly ease, please. Maybe one more luxurious breath in here in pigeon. And as you're ready, walk yourself back up, hands back up underneath your shoulders. If you tuck your left toes and lift your left knee, you can bring yourself back to hands and knees. Whew. Nice. Should feel nice in that right hip. Okay, take your knees kind of wide here. Install your hips over your knees and reach your hands out kind of far. Put some resistance into your hands here and drop your chest toward the floor. You can rest your head here if that feels nice. Or you might prefer resting your chin. You might even prefer to rest your chest on the floor and get a nice opening. But pull your belly button in, lift your lower belly, and drop your chest. And take a few breaths here in your Anahatasana, your open heart pose. Okay, think of spreading open your armpits to the ground. Think of spreading open your throat, your chest. And of course, your neck is always long here. And you're doing your best, even though you're obviously arching your spine. You're doing your best to point your tailbone at the ground. All right, as you're ready, walk your hands back up and in by your shoulders. Okay, I love that one because it really opens up the chest and the throat. And if you bring your knees back inward underneath your hips, we will do the second side. We'll do all that on the left side. So keeping your hips level for now. Circle out your left hip. All the places the knee can go without lifting the left hip. And rewind that, please. Now lift the hip. Make it a really big, ridiculous movement. Point the knee all the places it can go. And rewind it. Okay, now that hip is a lot warmer. Go ahead and send the left foot forward to plant itself by the left hand. And your left foot, keep it toward the left edge of the mat. Walk your right knee to the right edge of the mat so that there's a lot of space here. And let's circle the hips out in big, silly circles. And rewind them. And then bring it back to more the center of the mat and settle into a lunge that you want to settle into. So make everything just right. Okay, feel free to angle the left foot, move the right knee forward or back. Feel free to drop down to your elbows and hang your head. All the things. Keep in mind, we want a long neck. So if you notice that your shoulders are mushed up by your ears, put a little extra space in your neck, please. Remember to resist the floor a little bit as well. Okay, I think you'll find if you put just a little bit of press down in your legs, you can actually release much more effectively. Notice your hips, make them level if you can. And try to let go. Let everything just roll off your back here. Minimal effort. Okay. We need to peel ourselves up out of this. So come back up on your hands and start to move your left hip back. Pull it back. Okay. Now you can use your fingertips, you can use a block, do what you need to do here, but do your best to have a long spine And maybe start out with a bend in your left leg just so that the long spine settles in. And you want some space in the back of the left leg, so you'll start to pull the hip back as you dig down into the heel. So put a really big flex in the heel. The pinky toe wants to move towards your nose. And you can play around with opening more in the back of the leg. Or you can point the toes out to the left a little bit and walk your hands out to the left too. Pulling back into that IT band in the outer hip. As you're ready, bring it back into center. And we'll turn this into a pigeon. So we need to put the left foot back on the floor and we need to walk it over to the right. So we'll have to get the left hand out of the way. So drop into your pigeon. Take a little time to adjust it, please. Make it just right. Sometimes if you start off with a small bend in your left knee, if the outside of your leg is tender or if your hamstring is tender, start off with a small bend. Take your hands in front of you and just take a moment to let your hips soften toward the mat. Okay, remember to activate the legs, resist the floor at least a little. Maybe tuck your right toes under if you feel like your right hip's trying to lift up off the floor. Okay. And then find a pigeon you want to commit to. Walk yourself out into it. See, it's a little nicer when you spend some time kind of setting up your base in pigeon. So speaking of your base, activate it, resist the floor just enough to release. Big breath here, big release with every exhale. All right, as you're ready, pigeons, we need to peel ourselves up out of this. So hands back underneath your shoulders, walk yourself up, and then come back up to hands and knees. All right. From here, take your knees wide. We'll come down into another Anahatasana, okay, another open heart pose. So opening up the whole front of your chest, hands out in front. Push the floor at least a little with your hands, and then drop your heart. So remember to try to point your tailbone down, and that will allow that rolling of that extension in your back will roll up into your upper spine rather than your lower back. So if you want a little more here, you can press your fingertips down and lift your palms and kind of that allows your heart to sink a little lower than your elbows, and that gets a big stretch in the armpits. I know some people like here bending elbows, putting palms together, and then you can point your fingers back behind you. Maybe one more big breath here in this big heart opener. And let's come down out of this. So get your hands back up on the floor. Walk them back up underneath your shoulders. And if you have a seat to one side, you can bring your knees together, seat to one side, come all the way down to the mat. I will meet you down there. And grab your knees here, pull them in towards your chest. Maybe rock it around. Feel your low back rolling around on the mat. I'd like to do a shoulder stand with you tonight. So if you're not interested in getting yourself all the way inverted, just see if you want to come along the journey and just stop along the way, okay? But I do recommend just kind of getting up a little bit. Okay, starting off, coming up into shoulder stand, go ahead and just drop your hands by your hips. And then use the strength of your upper body to peel your hips up off the floor and bring your knees towards your forehead. So this is an important first step that I like to stop at. Why? Because you're establishing your base here. Your base is going to be your upper body. And it's very important that you look straight up at the ceiling so that the back of your neck is arching off the floor, not touching the floor, please. And your neck is moving away from your chest. Also, this is an important moment when you decide if you want to stay here or reach for your lowest ribs. And I really want you to grab the lowest ribs, hold them tight, and push down into the floor with your arms. Breathe, okay? And don't feel like you have to look at me right now. Just listen to my words. I'd rather you just look straight up. So you can stay here with your knees more or less tucked into your chest until you decide that you'd like to try pointing them up. So try pointing them up. If that works out well, you can point your feet up, and now you're all stacked up in a shoulder stand. Big, deep breath. Look straight up at your toes and reach your toes to the sky. Everything on the floor pushes down. Push down. Do your best to draw everything inward toward the center here. Maybe 3 more long, slow breaths in shoulder stand. One of the most beneficial postures that I can present to you, okay? So good to get your body upside down every now and then. One more breath here. To come out, let's come out together. Bend your knees and put them back towards your forehead. Pause here at this point. Put your hands back on the floor and extend your knees to point your toes back behind you. Use your arms to control your descent. So try to come down extremely slowly. I like to think of almost 1 vertebra per breath. Point those toes behind you. Roll your spine down. Use your strong arms. Okay. At some point, you have unrolled and you can drop your feet to the mat. Okay. Move your hips over to the left and drop your knees to the right. You can grab a knee with your right hand. Let's look over to the left. You can cactus your left arm and press the back of your hand and your shoulder blade to the floor. Big breath. Breathe into all sides of your chest. And let's bring the knees through center and just switch sides. So point your knees up, scoot your hips to the right now, and drop your knees to the left. The left hand may grab a knee. Let's look to the right with our right side cactus arm. Big breath. Find your body cooling down here after the warmth of your practice. In your twist, all your organs get a fantastic massage, as do all the muscles of your torso. And bring the legs back into center. Okay, from here, one more thing, and then we'll rest. Take your hands down beside you and pick up your right glute and slide your right hand under it and sit on it. And then do the same on the left side. Pick up the left glute, slide your hand under it, and sit on it. So you're sitting on your hands. Okay, just push your elbows down into the floor until you feel your chest arching up. So push the elbows down, feel the chest come up. And then I want you to find a way that you can push down enough to use your shoulder blades to support your heart upward. Keep a little tuck in your chin and maybe let your head hang a little bit. So find something like that. Use those shoulder blades, scoop up, long neck. Maybe one more breath here. In your fish pose. And then to come down, curl your chin back into your chest and lay yourself back down. You can take your hands out from under you here. And just rest. Find your Shavasana. Let go all control of your breath or your body or your thoughts here. Just be. Like a child who trusts that everything will be taken care of. Everything is going as it should. Just be. Feel your body soak up the sensations of your practice. Your central nervous system diligently integrates everything it just experienced. Please keep resting like this for as long as you can. Thank you so much for joining me.